welcome back to another edition of Relatable. I'm your host, Stephanie Michelle. This is the show where we talk about exceptional human encounters, people who make them happen, and the actions it takes to create them. Now, over the weekend, I had a lot of exceptional encounters happen. Of course, you guys know that I was at the Future XO conference where the topic was longevity. So we had speakers that were talking about gene editing and brain rewiring and gene mapping to determine what diseases and conditions of aging you might be more likely to experience. Lots of really cool stuff, but some of it was kind of frightening, I have to tell you. And as I listened to the speakers present new ideas and talk about what the near future is going to look like in terms of longevity, I found my heart racing a little bit and thinking, I'm having a hard time making decisions right now about life and health decisions. How am I going to make these new future decisions? You know, we're told that the best practice for mental health is to stay in the moment and be present, but it can't always be that way if you want to have a future that's worth loving and protecting. So in order to be fully present with the future in sight, I think the question that we have to address is, what are the moments that I'm going to commit to now that make me feel good about my future? And even more important, here's some big questions to consider. As there's more things that are pulling our attention and fragmenting our relationship with trust and influence, here's some big questions to think about. Am I even available for those moments? And what have I allowed to influence me that's not making me available for those moments? Big questions. My guest today has used her moments to build a future that she dreamed of. Kathy Takara. See, I told you I was going to do that. And now you're just Shakira.
It works. Kathy T.
Kathy T. No, I'm going to get it right. Kathy Takara.
Takaro.
God damn it. And here comes Deeds. Okay, Ted. I swear to God, we have not been drinking. I just want to put that out there. There is no alcohol in this room. Okay. So Kathy has overcome experiences with violence, trauma, and sexual abuse to become an advocate for personal growth and dreaming big. Kathy is a certified occupational health and safety officer and works full-time as a heavy equipment operator. Now, if you don't know what that is, you're about to see. She drives a 14-ton 797, 400-ton 797 caliper truck. Look at the proportion of this. Can you zoom in? That's her little bitty body right here in this big truck that she has to go up 2 flights of steps to get on to drive this thing. And she also operates a 208,000 liter water truck in the northern Alberta oil sands. She's always believed in dreaming big, and proves this by driving literally the biggest truck in the world. Kathy was born in Quebec and speaks and writes fluent French and English and lives in Alberta, Canada.
Hi.
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 I think we're going to giggle a lot on this show today.
I think so.
We already have. So, Kathy, I sometimes use that monologue to rant about whatever I'm feeling, and I actually have a lot of things I could have ranted about this morning, but I tried to keep it in check. But is there anything that's pulling your attention right now before we start the show that you just want to get off your chest? Or
I'm really happy to be in LA.
Yeah.
really happy.
Yeah, to see the sun. And
I was on Santa Monica Beach all day yesterday, and I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's
and
good.
Actually, you know what? I was in Barnes & Noble yesterday, and the people I have found, they're so friendly.
Yeah.
I've been to doing many book events, but there in Thousand Oaks, it was amazing at how people came right up to me, made eye contact, look at the truck, and it's like, oh my God. Whereas normally a lot of people don't make eye contact, keep mookie, But no, it was
maybe
good.
That's something
Yeah.
about you too. That's saying something about your energy, that they're like, I feel
possibly.
safe that I can connect with this person.
Okay. I did have chocolate.
You did have chocolate.
I did have
Okay.
a thing of chocolate.
See, here the real story comes out.
Here, have one of these.
Hilarious. Well, you have quite a story. So we have to get to like this, but we have a lot to get to before we get to this, right? Your story of how you got a little bit. So tell me about Kathy before you had this career.
Oh my. Well, I was a nurse for 13 years, and
Join us.
if you ever see my nursing picture, it's on the video that I have on my website. I graduated in 1998 as a single divorced mom with a 3-year-old daughter. I put myself through school, and very, very proud moment. The picture with my hat and the flowers and everything. You would never know that 6 years before that picture that I had been gang raped in Montreal when I was 19, or that at 18 I had been drugged and raped by a photographer after a photo shoot in Miami, or that at 15 I'd been an attempted rape by the foster father that I was with, or at 14 that I'd been raped by my first boyfriend, or that I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional, violent, filled with alcoholism and all sorts of awful stuff, sexual abuse, every kind of abuse, or that I basically grew up in the doghouse. You'd never know that from the picture, because I had fooled myself into believing that, look at me now, I got this great career. I mean, I overcome all that. What happens in the past stays in the past. Who cares about that? I mean, how many people say that about their issues, right?
Yeah, I don't need to deal with that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's a long time
over.
ago, right? And so that's what I did, because now, I mean, I got this great career ahead of me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But by my doing that, by locking all that pain away in that vault and putting it away and, let's pretend it's not there, what that did was actually, it became a wound inside, just as in nursing, I'm tending to everybody else's wound. I never recognized, not once, that I was a walking wound, that inside this vault it was festering, like all that pain was festering, and it had become so infected that all my decisions were based on low self-worth and a negative core belief, right? So I'm carrying that around. So this directly impacted the men that I chose. So not only do I have all that stuff that I'm carrying around with,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know.
She's so distracting. Not only am I carrying all that stuff around, but by my carrying this big hole of pain inside, it affected the men that I picked. So from 2000 to 2007, I had 2 extremely violent relationships where, just to say an example, I mean, what more can you say about abuse? Abuse is abuse, bottom line. But just to give you an example of how severe it was, I lived with a shovel on my porch as a reminder of what I was going to be buried with. I miscarried due to violence. I had a bodyguard watching my every move and reporting back to him. I was stalked for a year. I mean, I was strangled 3 times to the point of losing my voice and losing consciousness for a week. I was under constant death threats. I had an 8-inch bayonet knife thrown at me. Like I was bending over and I was untying my shoes, and I look at him and I see, like, wondering, what's he doing with a screwdriver? Like, it just didn't make sense. And then, no, it wasn't a screwdriver. It was a hunting knife. Anyway, so I mean, I was under constant threat of being sold into human trafficking. Like, it went on and on and on. And all this while I'm nursing.
Yeah.
Nobody at work knew.
And you would just not, you didn't
because
tell
I'm so good at wearing that mask.
Yeah.
I could smile like with the best of them. No problem. Right?
I'm familiar with this mask.
Because it was easier for me to take care of this pain and this pain and this pain. I mean, I'm working double shifts just to not have to deal with this pain.
What was the breaking point?
Well, the breaking point was I came home one day and I happened to look at him wrong, and all I had time to do was kind of move from one point to I was going into the washroom, and he jumped on me, and it took 2 seconds. He had me flipped over. He's strangling me with one hand. He's punching me in the face with the other, and his words to me is, "I'm going to take your bloody, battered body, tie you up, put you in a truck, roll you down a hill, and burn you alive, you stupid, useless." Right? Do you doubt me? And I lost consciousness, and I woke up. I'm in the room. He had locked me in there. He had disabled the car. He had taken my money, and I knew that this was it, right?
Yeah.
So I called a friend. I said, "Look, you need to buy me a ticket." And I was way up by Alaska at this point in the Yukon, and it's a 36-hour bus ride to anywhere. So luckily, I mean, by the grace of God, I mean, I broke down the door, I grabbed a bag of clothes, and off I went. And I made it to the bus within 2 minutes time. It was like out of a movie, because I sit down, and I'm thinking, oh, I made it, right? And he drives by really slowly. He had come home in the interim and found that I wasn't home and assumed I was on the bus, which I was.
Yeah.
And he just drove by, but he couldn't do anything. I was pulling away. Luckily, he left me alone. But I went on that bus ride. This is how that mask works. On that bus ride, I called for a job. I had a job. I had a roof over my head. Boom. 7.5 years of violence and trauma and all that. Whoop, we'll just shift that around. I'm fine. I'm tough.
Yeah.
I'm a survivor.
I've done this before.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
good at this. I need a paycheck. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm back to nursing, and in 2008, I'm working the night shift, and I got 10 patients to look after. I couldn't read my sheet. I could not take another step. I was done mentally. It was just, there's no more pretending. There's no more saying I'm okay. There's no more, yeah, I'm tough. No. And I recognize that. So I quit my job. I went from the medical unit in my nursing scrubs down to the psychiatric unit. And I'm like, let me in. They actually called security. Get her out. So I'm like, oh God. Yeah, not my proudest moment, let me tell you. But it took that moment for me to actually open up to a psychiatric doctor in the Emerge. And it was the first time, I'm 40 years old, that I actually told someone. Like, I hadn't even told my mom about the gang rape, about anything. So here I am.
Just come out like you're
It
like,
just, I came all out. And I was fully expecting him to lock me up for a 72-hour observation, give me some happy pills, and either classify me as bipolar, schizophrenic, something. And so I say, are we going? And he's like, going where? I said, well, aren't you going to lock me up? And he's like, my dear, there's no amount of happy pills that's going to fix you. And I'm like, what?
That's a really awful thing to say.
But he says, it's not about the pills. He says, after everything you've told me, you need to fix you. You need, number one, to quit drinking alcohol, because in the interim, I'd become an alcoholic. He says you need to quit drinking and you need to go address these issues. Nothing in the world is going to fix that until you look at it. And so from that moment on was the beginning of my transition and transformation. I mean, change doesn't happen overnight. No. I've had lots of ups and downs and relapses, I'll say research. That's a good way to put it.
I like it.
Research. I did a lot of research in order to figure out exactly who I was. I actually, like I mentioned in the book, I had a lot of spiritual experiences that actually got me moving, because I got kind of stalled in between there's a lot of depression, a lot of dark days that make it really difficult to get off this couch. And even chapter 6 is Bird with a Broken Wing, because I was so depressed after all the violence and everything. I couldn't even comb my hair. Like, just so tired. Yeah. And where do I get the strength? How do I get up again? It was really, really tough. And so I had a very powerful experience, a spiritual experience that got me moving again. And in 2009, I finally found this faith-based women's program where you live there for a year. And all you do is you take care of you. I had my own room, and although I was flat broke, it didn't matter, because I had to unlearn, relearn, and accept who I was. Yeah. And that's not easy. No. It's not easy.
Can you think of a pivotal moment where you're like, I'm on the other side of this, or you start to really feel like, I'm starting to get on the other side of this?
See, it's really funny because the first time I went to the program, I went 3 times. I did 9 months, and after that, they didn't really have anything. You went to school or back to work. Yeah. And I gave it my whole entire self. I mean, I took a 12-week a sexual assault recovery group, where you just get right in there and you deal with that stuff. And I thought I was fine. I really did. As soon as I got out, back into life and back into the swing of things, it didn't take 2 weeks till I was drinking. I'm like, what the heck? Because what I didn't realize is that there was a lot of layers. Yes, I had dealt with that, but then I hadn't dealt with all the guilt and the shame as a mother and the things, for my daughter. I hadn't even looked at that. So, and then there was other things, and just there's so much. So it takes time. So I ended up going back to that program for a total of 2 years. I spent there unlearning all the lies that had been fed into me since childhood, that I'm not good enough, that, I'm worthless, I'm a piece of crap, I'm a useless, I was told that I pollute the air. Who says that? Wow. So yeah, it just takes time. And the biggest thing was just learning to accept that I'm freaking awesome. Right? Yeah, so that was the biggest thing.
Well, so how do we get to here? Like, how did this?
Well, there's a story. But wait, there's more. There's more. Right? Okay, so the third time that I had, right before I went in for the last time, I had relapsed, and I had cut my arm in a drunken moment that I don't remember. All I know is I woke up in the hospital, and I had officially lost my nursing career. There was absolutely no way I could get that one back. And my daughter had left, moved in with her dad. She didn't talk to me for 2 years, right? She was really upset, and rightfully so. I ended up losing everything. I was on the streets. By this time, I'm 42. But on the 7th day of being homeless, I'm like, that depression, that fog that I've been carrying around was just brutal. I meet this guy named Toothless Joe. And Toothless Joe...
And you're in Canada where?
In Edmonton, in the inner city, the homeless section. Toothless Joe slaps me on the back, and he's quite happy with his way of life, and that's fine, right? But he goes, "This is the life, live it, love it." This big toothless grin. When he hit me on the back, it was a God-given moment, because that cloud, it shattered, and I saw crystal clear for once. And I'm in a very shady area of the town, of the city, and I'm looking at my surroundings. I'm like, "What did you just say?" I said, "Dude," I said, "this is not my life." I even stomped my foot, and I said, "This is not my life." Turned around, even though I had nothing, right? I went and I sobered up again, and I went back to that women's program. I said, "I am not leaving here till I figure this out." Like, that's it.
You're stuck with me.
This is it. But it was from that moment that one decision actually led me to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. I was so committed to never having to see that guy again, right? Which thankfully I didn't. But if you see the picture, show the book. This picture was actually taken 2 years from Toothless Joe. From 2 years exactly, from one moment to the other. And that you can't see, but I'm actually crying in the picture, because I'm looking up at this thing, and yes, it's magnificent truck, thinking, "Oh my God, I got to drive this thing." But I was more grateful because of the journey that I had done, right?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, if only Toothless Joe could see me now, right? So, yeah, but I mean, it's a process. How do you change careers when you're 42? It was very difficult. All I knew was nursing, and I actually had to go to a career planning workshop to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up, and and so I did aptitude tests, personality tests, and after all that, the lady says, "You're going to be a heavy equipment operator," and I'm. I laughed so hard, I almost fell off my chair. I said, "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." I said, "I'm 42, I'm a woman, it's a man's job, I've never looked at equipment, I'm so not mechanically inclined, I can't even change a freaking tire," right? Like, my God. Anyway, she looks at me and she says, "If only you'd believe in yourself a little bit, Missy," she even threw that in there, "you'd see that I'm right." She puts on a Les Brown motivational video called "It's Possible," and a seed was planted that, you know what? I'm a pretty good driver. I used to race cars as a kid. Yeah, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
So she sent me to Women Building Futures, a nonprofit organization in Canada where they get women into the trades. And lucky me, the day I walk in there randomly on a Friday afternoon, ExxonMobil, the biggest gas company in the world, which is Imperial Oil in Canada, happened to be offering a 12-week heavy equipment operator program, and they were paying for 16 women to take the course. Had I gone there the day before, I would have missed the offer.
Yeah.
So 170 women applied. Why would they pick me? You know why? Because I had nothing to lose. I worked darn hard to make sure I got picked.
Yeah.
I mean, fear and insecurity was nothing, because the desire to change my life overruled everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Toothless Joe, change. Toothless Joe, change. And so one thing led to another, and out of the 16, they hired 11, and I got hired. And I've been doing this for 6 years. It has been by far the best career change ever. I work 10 days, get 10 days off. I'm here on my days off.
What surprised you about this? Because you're right. So we don't see a lot of women in construction.
No.
And much less driving something like this. Like, when you were going through the training before you were going to get actually on the truck, like, what surprised you about, this is my career, like, I'm going to do this, like, I'm into it, like, because you're into it, right?
I know, I love it. Every piece of equipment that I got on, I'm like, damn, I'm good.
You feel powerful.
It was empowering, the confidence. I mean, loading a truck in the excavator, I'm like, mining is men's best kept secret. I got to tell you, running heavy equipment is men's best kept secret. They don't want women to find out because it's so much fun.
Well, you're like moving earth. It has to feel very powerful.
Who cares? You don't have to get your hair done, nothing. You got coveralls. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
And it pays really well. It does.
Yeah.
It's very empowering. It is.
did you get pushback from your family or anybody that's like, what? That's what you're gonna do? Like,
yeah, there's most people like, what do you, like, you're a nurse. How do you go from nursing to that, right? Yeah. But it's been the best possible thing.
You train people now to like that are.
Well, you mentor people because now that you've been there so long, you get new people, they just come for ride-alongs and that's about it, right? So, yeah.
So you're driving this truck. At what point did you stop and you're like, I got to really reflect on my life. I have a story that I can share about overcoming obstacles. How long were you on the truck before you started writing?
You know, it was more like I've always said I'm going to write a book, but I figured I'll do it when I retire. But given my years of nursing, you never know, right? Yeah. You can kick the bucket at any day. And so we had these big fires up in northern Canada in Fort McMurray, and our mine was, shut down for a little bit. And so interestingly enough, guess who was in town that week that I would have missed? Les Brown, right? There was a motivational thing, a Get Motivated seminar, which was free. Yeah. I went there, and Black Card Books, they were there, and they said, you want to be a speaker? At the time, I just started speaking a little bit. They said, you want to be a speaker? Write a book. You don't have to write a big book, 100 pages, but that's your calling card. And I'm like, yeah, right? Here's just Kathy, the speaker. Here's the author. Yeah, right? It makes a difference. So I got back, I went to work, and I hand wrote the book in a month, and I came back home, and then I just typed it up. It took a year.
You hand wrote?
I hand wrote the book, sitting in the water truck, I did.
Wow.
And then I came back, and then I actually typed it up. I never looked at it again. Whatever I hand wrote, I have no idea. I never looked at it. I just had to get it out. And then it took a year from beginning to the very end to actually get it at home. So, and now it's available. It's coming out in French next month.
Nice.
It's in the middle of being translated in Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah. Me llamo Catalina. Yeah. I have to learn Spanish. And Hindi, because I went to India for Caterpillar. They're translating it for me in Hindi. And I got the Portuguese version.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's really cool.
It's pretty exciting.
So as you've got to share your story and share the book with people, what have been some of the connecting points when people are like, yeah, I struggle? Like, what stories do they share back with you or tell you, like, hey, this was inspiring to me because I've gone through this? Or...
You would be surprised at how many people have gone through pretty much, maybe not as extreme as I have, but I mean, abuse is abuse, sexual abuse is sexual abuse, right? Just in various forms. It's disgusting how many people, how many women have been assaulted, right? And how many women don't have a voice. Like, I just spoke at a school up in Canada there was 100 youth, and at the end of it, 3 went and pressed charges. So to me, that's huge. That's huge. So now, speaking of that, what I do is I travel worldwide on my days off, and I go to youth. I go to schools. I work with youth centers in rehab places, juvenile places. I go to women's shelters all over. It doesn't matter if I'm in the Caribbean. I'm not in some posh hotel. I mean, I'm down in some shelter, and I'm working with the people because that is where I want to be. Yeah. Right. I bring school supplies. I mean, I do so much. I mean, I even go to prisons now. I mean, I empower them. So
is it really? For you, is it about really allowing people to understand, like, if you bury this, it's gonna come up. Like, if you don't deal with it, it's gonna come up in some other way, and you're gonna have to deal with it at some point. So, the sooner you do, is that kind of
where you're finding? Because I guess the freedom I have inside now, about finding your voice and what that does for you. I mean, I lived in darkness for so long, and I was a prisoner in my own mind, and the freedom that I have today, I just want to give it to everybody. Say, look, if you can only look at yourself, deal with it, cry the tears you got to cry, but then keep going. Put another step and another step. You don't know the miracles that are waiting for you around the corner. I'm going to Africa in February.
That's really cool. So now now you've had so many experiences of, like, you know what, I am great, I'm loved, I'm supported, you know. When he slapped you on the back and said, this is life, like, it's like, do you feel like that was God talking to you, or kind of telling you, like, I see you, you're important, like?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've known, you know, I've always known there was a greater purpose to my life, but I was so caught in my trauma that I couldn't break free. And it's that slap on the back was like, hello.
It feels like it. Like,
you better get moving.
I have a friend that he literally calls, like, God moments, God smacks, and that's all I can.
That's exactly
what he did. That's what he did for you. He probably doesn't even know.
I've never looked for him again. Yeah. I mean, I've looked for him. I've never seen him again. I started Operation Hydration every summer. summer I go around on the hottest days and I give ice cold water to the homeless, I look for that guy.
Yeah.
Never seen him again. Pretty sure he was a guardian angel.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So we know some of the things that you're working on right now. So you stay very involved, and you're encouraging people to tell their truth and get on the other side of things. Like, what are some of the big things that you're working on right now that are really important to you?
Well, in October, I'm going to Grenada, and I got 4 suitcases full of school supplies. And I go to different schools, and I'm actually going to 2 different islands this time, and I get to distribute them. I get to work with them. I talk, because 1 in 2 children are sexually abused. It's pretty horrific. So what I do is I just, as much as I can do while I'm there, I mean, give little talks about good touch, bad touch, no secrets, and about having a voice. And proceeds to the book are actually I'm going to be opening an orphanage one day. Like when I retire from this job, I am giving my house to my daughter. You can have that thing. I'm going to buy a yacht, and I'm just going from island to island to island to work with the people.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really huge for me. What's coming right now on my website is I'm releasing the Dream Big workbook. It's 1 chapter every 2 months that accompanies this. So the chapter 1, Fear, like I just released the introduction. Fear will be out in 2 weeks, and that is like 25 questions strictly on fear. And then it gives time. I'm working with this artist who does the spiritual artwork that he does is incredible. So as you're working through your pain, I give spiritual exercises that you can actually look into the photo, go to a place where you can deal with that pain a little bit, and then come back to it. And so every few months, there's more and more and more. So yeah, that's coming out. I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
Where do you get your energy? It's just like so filled up.
I'm free.
Yeah.
Right?
You're like,
I'm not carrying any excess luggage.
Yeah. That's a great
This is
point.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel that.
I do. I mean, like I said earlier, I've lived so long in darkness, so many years of pain and sorrow and just hurt and not knowing what's right, what's wrong, and not knowing I have a greater purpose but can't quite find it.
Yeah.
Now that I've found it, yeah.
You're like,
yeah, I have enough energy for 5 people.
Yeah, I feel it. I can feel it. Is there something else that you're dreaming about besides the yacht and going around and talking to children and helping them through traumas or anything else? I mean, because it seems like the sky there is no limit for you. Like, are there other big dreams that are kind of floating out there?
Well, when I go to Africa for the French book launch, I'm going to be going to the Ivory Coast, to Ghana and Benin, and they are partnered with the International Organization Women of Africa, and I've been connected with them, and they are going to work with me to see their programs that they have for women and children over there, and that's a big thing for me. So, yeah I'm pretty stoked about that.
So really, so you see yourself really working with a lot of children.
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will have my orphanage, and I'm going to probably adopt 50 kids, and that's okay.
Do your coworkers on the job set, do they know your story?
That was the biggest thing. When the book was about to be released, I realized, because I wrote the book for people that are hurting and, women and all that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm thinking, oh my God, people at work are going to know everything, right? Like, oh, you want to talk panic? Yeah, anxiety for 3 days. I couldn't sleep. I was one big mess until I realized, wait a minute, don't tell me these big tough guys at work don't have problems, right? They just don't talk about it.
Right.
So that kind of got me going. I'm like, okay, so what I did, so that they don't hear it from a third party, I put that picture on the slide up front in front of 150 guys, and I said, you see that book? It's not about mining. It has nothing to do with mining. So then I kind of proceeded very quickly to say, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. I want you to hear it from me, not gossip in the lunchroom. And I'm not asking you to buy the book. I'm not asking you to read the book. But if you know someone in your family that's struggling with depression or suicide or have some issues that I had, because a lot of people do, buy it for them. Pay it forward for them as a gift. You would be surprised at the amount of people from all departments that would come to me, pull me on the side, say, hey, I got 2 daughters and they're really struggling with this and that. I heard your book was good. And so they buy the book. It's been really, what that has done for me by being vulnerable in the workplace, it has opened up the door to conversations. Having mental health conversations in the workplace is priceless.
I couldn't agree with you more. And you would think, so I've never been on a construction work site, but I would think that there's more we don't talk to anybody
That's
kind of
right.
energy than like a work environment when there's offices that, you know, yeah, we can go stand by the cooler or the printer and talk. So there's more nobody talks.
And not about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So no, it's really opened up the door to having some really good conversations that's not about the weather. Right?
Yeah, and I would think, I mean, there's so many studies right now, and I do this kind of work about really engaging the workforce and bringing empathy into the workforce and allowing social time and stuff. There's so many studies about how much more productive people are, and when they're invested in their job, and then when they're invested in their coworkers, like how that ends up benefiting the company, you know, because people are more productive, more happy, they're more alert. So it's interesting that
well, there's studies done because we live in a camp and we're away from our family. I mean, we don't have access to our phones for 12, 13 hours a day. We're away when we're there for 10 days. That's it. Life goes on at home. There's still issues, but you can't do anything because you're over here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are going on in people's minds that they don't really talk about.
Yeah.
So by my opening up and saying, hey, you know what, this is it, and you feel free to come talk to me anytime, it's been a blessing. It's been an absolute blessing.
That's amazing. I love it. I wish someone was filming that, like when you first started talking to your
By the way, that's not about mining.
yeah, this is about money. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think it's really important for people to know about your story, or the thing that you want to encourage the most?
You know, the most important thing, not just for me, but I work with a lot of women and youth, is learning to stand up for yourself, to believe in yourself, saying no when you need to, don't feel you're responsible for someone else. Learning to have a voice in your own story called life is priceless. Not relying on other people's opinions or judgments or anything, learning to believe in yourself, to accept yourself, with the cracks in the foundation, with, you know, you're not perfect, nobody is, but that's okay. That has been crucial to being able to take the next step to where you want to be. Set your goals, set them high. If you feel that you don't succeed, redefine your success. I mean, you are the master and commander of your own ship. You are able to do anything you want. You want to. I'm sitting right here today because I wrote the book, because I had an idea and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with this.
By the way, Kathy reached out to me almost like when I first started the show 3 years ago, and we've been in communication since then. So it's like 3 years. Like, so I mean, there's something about persistence, right? Like you're like, I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. That just makes stuff happen. Like, really, right?
Make it happen.
That simple. And I would just like to add to what she said. Like, you know, none of us are great at setting boundaries. We don't really want to. We're told, oh, boundaries, it's like a block. Like you shouldn't do that. But standing up for yourself is really important. And if you feel like the person that you need to stand up the most with is going to be difficult, it's going to be a difficult conversation, practice that with someone where it's not as hard. Like relating, communication, you know, having these kind of confrontations takes practice, right? So the first couple times might not feel so great, but bring people into your circle to help you do that. Right?
That's right.
Talk to, you know.
I talked a lot in the mirror, back and forth.
And that will do too.
You know? Actually, there may or may not be quite a few conversations going on as I drive.
Yeah, I bet. Well, so there's a question that I like to ask every guest that sits on the couch where you are. You know, everybody gets this question because this is really why we do the show, is what does this phrase exceptional human encounter mean to you? And probably Toothless Joe is an example of that, but if you have another one.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
You never know who you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them. I started a work boot recycling program back in 2014, and I've collected over 3,000 pairs of boots to date.
Boots are really expensive, right?
They are. So 3,000 people have received boots from my work site so that they can go to work. So in transferring those boots over to a program, because they go to different safety programs, in bringing a couple bags of boots that I had, I met a lady. She was an elder lady, a native lady. She was in her 70s and very poor, but I was helping her. She asked me for some boots, and then she was always there every time I go. ago, I befriended her and ended up giving her rides, and she was such an amazing human being.
Yeah.
50 years sobriety. It turns out this woman, at the age of 76, made it to the cover of the magazine called Avenue in Edmonton, and her story was published, and she's got all these beautiful photos. She was the first woman to advocate for Aboriginal rights in Edmonton, Alberta. What she did, she put her teepee, she got kicked out of apartments because she was Native and she had 4 kids, so she had no money. She raised her teepee in front of the mayor's office and said, I'm not moving here until you change the rights. She stayed there for 3 months.
You were totally supposed to meet this woman.
Oh yeah, so to this, like her and I mean, became best friends. We did all sorts of, she used to go around giving soup to people and mitts, and one guy was so cold she gave him her oven mitts, right? All sorts of stuff. She just passed away not too long ago, but Lillian Shirt was her name, is my absolute superstar. She is one of those exceptional people that you will ever meet, and I have her picture, her front cover, her picture on my wall. I got this wall of love, and she's the center of it. Right?
That's amazing.
So yeah.
And I know you know this, but you attracted that. Like, it's just so, I love knowing you now, and I know, because I've read through this book, like the deepest, darkest places that you were, and it's just so amazing that you're on the other side of that, and now look what you're attracting. Like, you're meeting these like lights. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Even my dog can't get enough of you. He's like, how am I going to get closer to this woman? All right, well, so we get to do one more thing with our time together. So I am a big advocate of just learning, and I think you are too. I mean, that's how you got through this and how you continue to get out and help people in their own learning process. So the way that I try to stay in relationship with learning, especially when it comes to this and communication relating, is just to try something new, like, to try a different approach in a conversation, or, really be mindful about every person that you're interacting with and going, we're sharing time and space together. Like, let's make this, let's make this work. So, so we issue social challenges of the week for just people to try something, to have a different experience with themselves, and maybe invite a friend into it. So before you sat down, let's see, what did I write down? I don't even remember. I don't remember what I said. Let's see. Yeah, I wrote down the questions that I talked about in the opening monologue. What's influencing you to trust or distrust people? What kinds of moments do you want to commit to now? Maybe just asking those questions and sharing the answers to the questions with somebody, with a buddy or a friend. What else kind of comes up that you, like, if you were going to issue a social challenge of the week to people to try something that worked for you, that like you're a big advocate of, like in your daily practice of life? I don't know why I said it that way.
You know what? Put your phone away for 2 blocks. Look at people and say hello. Smile and say hello. Put your phone down and look at people. There's no interaction. Like, oh my God, just walking here from that little cafe around the corner. Nobody looked at me, because I mean, I put my phone away. I'm kind of used to it in the truck. We don't have our phones. We're not allowed our phones. So it's like a social challenge. Like, don't look at your phone. Say hello. Hey, how's it going? People are like, what?
Yeah,
what?
We've never talked about that subject on the show ever, right, Dean?
You probably did.
No. It's a big. Well, I mean, I live and work downtown, so I live 2 blocks away from here, and I, on a daily basis, will watch someone walk into traffic, because this is more important, and it's proven at this point that that's rewiring your brain. Like, it's rewiring your brain in ways that I don't think people really understand yet. Like, it's when everything's so fragmented because you're taking little bits and pieces of time and news and all this, and it's like there's so much information coming in that's fragmented, that's not connected to a real source that you can trust, but you're influenced by it, and you're just distracted all the time.
That's right.
All the time. So when we talk about like moments of like this, like, I mean, I see it all the time, and I can kind of call it at this point. Like, I can tell what my conversation is going to be like with someone by their relationship with their phone, like how much they've interacted.
That's right. I went out on a date not too long ago, and I cut it short because he was more interaction with his phone. I said, I gotta go.
It's just like, I'm not available I'm not available for this. Like, I can't, that's the relationship that you're in. And even and even more telling is like, you know, you can have an interaction with somebody offline and you're like, oh, I really like this person was really present with me. I like this interaction. And then like everything get disrailed via text because you don't know what they're doing, why they're texting you. They don't know either. All you're doing when we're getting texts is interpreting what might be going on, but you don't know. So you start to create this whole illusion of like, yeah, that's what was going on, or that's what this person meant, and it's not real. Like it's not like, it's not a real moment. So yeah, we talk about that a lot here. Like a lot. I mean, even I committed, I think 2 years ago to turn on the alerts off on my phone. So it doesn't buzz or ring or vibrate or anything. The only thing that you'll hear on my phone is an actual phone call coming in. That's it. But I'm still finding myself like checking Instagram too much or whatever, and then like I just checked it. What is wrong with me? Like I'm looking at it again. Like literally, this is like. I mean, it's a
step away.
Yeah, it's definitely, it has definitely rewired us in not a good way that we can't even do this. And this is where the good stuff comes from.
I agree.
So I think, since we've ranted on that for a while, I still think, so the social challenge of the week is what kind of moments do you want to commit to now? I really think like taking time to answer that question in connection to like, hey, yeah, what are you doing with the phone? And like, what might you be missing out on? Like, what are the moments that you want to commit to now that are going to shape the future that you want?
That's right.
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
All right. I think that's the social challenge of the week.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that's what it's going to be. What kind of moments do you want to have? Do you want to, well, I'm going to read this again. What kind of moments do you want to have that you need to commit to now to have the future that you want? Yeah, that's it. Miss Big, are you done too? You done moving around? You got anything to say?
He's adorable.
Yeah, he knows it too. He knows it. All right. Well, so we're going to be sharing where we can get this book, the workbook that you mentioned. Is there any events coming up that you want us to share when we?
Well, it's a closed event tomorrow, Wednesday at Cliffside Malibu.
We can't share that. Then we can't share that.
No, sorry. No.
You're big tease.
Yeah, I'm speaking there, but
but sorry, you can't
come. Well, no, I'm going to be in Grenada doing my thing. I'm going to be in Miami for 4 days in October, right after Grenada. I got a big radio. I'm going in studio for all of the morning. They're having me in there. I'm really quite excited about that one.
Are you good at posting, like, so you're going to have all of this travel coming up, like where's the best place for people to like follow your journey as you're out?
Instagram,
okay.
Facebook, I guess, but more Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram is your social network.
Yeah, and it's just my name, Kathy Tuckrow.
It's on the screen actually.
Okay,
it's there.
So.
All right, well, that brings us to another edition of Relatable. I'm really glad that we finally got to do this.
I know, 3 years.
I know.
Right?
I had to think about it. It's like been 3 years. I've actually connected with her. I mean, I might have been on like show 12, and you're 127.
Okay.
So it's cool. I'm really glad that we got to meet. I'm very impressed, and I can't wait to hear all the things that you're doing when you're traveling and stuff. So stay in touch and let us know what you're doing.
One last thing. I went to Tibet in November to Mount Everest Base Camp, and I filmed a little short video for saying if only Toothless Joe could see me now.
You did?
I'm at Mount Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
I mean, just the enormity, right? How do you go from homeless to that? I just bought my first house.
Nice.
All by myself, every last penny. Like, it's just unbelievable, that feeling of accomplishment, that anybody, anywhere, doesn't matter what your situation is, your mindset, is your decisions that you make, the choices, the steps that you take to keep going. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I feel like we're just going to sit around and giggle when we're done. I know. It's good. It's good. All right. Well, that brings us to another edition of Relatable. As always, I want to ask you, what are you doing to make an exceptional encounter happen today? See you next week.
See ya.